With the glove box fully open, you can now see the actuator motor located here, which is what drives the blend door in the system. So we want to remove that motor. It's held on by 2 Phillips screws. You'll notice mine have already been loosened, so they're going to come out pretty easy. And we will take off those 2 screws. And once we do that, the motor will just slip straight out. Yours may be a little tighter than mine. It'll come out fairly easily. And then the wiring connector, you just pull up on the little tab and pull the wires out. And we've now totally removed the motor. With the motor removed, you'll see the white axle stub, which is what is connected to the blend doors inside. What we want to look at here, if you'll notice on this one, there's a small limit pin right on the side of that. And as I turn that, it's hitting 2 stop points that are molded into the box. The failure mode occurs when this small limit pin breaks, because that limit pin is supposed to stop the movement of the doors and limit the motor from over-torquing the doors. On most of them, you'll see this small pin is broken. Now, the one we're looking at is the front motor, so that is only for the driver's side. So it's possible that that limit pin will be intact, but the back door one is broken. So you have exactly the same assembly on the back side. But that's the first thing you want to look for, is that broken pin. Now, the next step we're going to do is we need to pull that out of there. And mine does not have a door or axle behind it, but you will see something behind that hole when you pull it loose. Okay, now we're ready to cut into the box and expose the broken blend doors. On some models you will see a little clip that fits here. On others that will be a screw. Also, on some of the later models, there is another wiring harness coming down here. And it has a wire that goes internal to the box, which is a temperature sensor on the AC evaporator core. If you have that, it pulls straight up out of a plastic catch that's molded into the bottom of the box here. And you want to keep an eye where that goes back into the box, because it does have to be reassembled when you put it back together. So now we've removed this little clip or screw. And this is what the box assembly will look like, and we need to make a cut in it. As you can see, this one has already been cut, and we do have better pictures in the instructions that you can follow. The only thing you need to be careful of, right along this edge here on the right-hand side, see if I can get a little more of that. The heater core is actually located right behind this part of the box. So when we make the cut, we want to make sure that the blade stays pointed towards the front of the car. If you turn that to the extreme angle and push in, you see, you can feel me hitting the heater core. And you've got about a ½ inch clearance there, so it's not a real problem. You want to make sure that cut is made at a 90-degree angle to the box. And we'll come across and back down on this side. Note that on the bottom of the box there is a tongue and groove attachment between the top and bottom parts of the box. We're going to leave that intact. It'll make it very easy to replace the insert once we're done. But it's a fairly simple cut. We are cutting through the tongue and groove on both sides. And that will allow us to lift this small piece out. And we'll go ahead and do that. And you'll see that it comes out fairly easily. And you'll note that the tongue and groove is still in place on the bottom. That'll make it easy for us to reinsert the cutout piece when we're ready to do it. Once we make the front cut, then there is a center divider between the passenger and driver's side of the box, and that also needs to be cut. So if you see this, you'll see that we made a cut down to the pivot point of the axle, and we will cut that part out. Again, it does have a tongue and groove on the bottom, so it's fairly easy to replace. However, if you're moving to single control, it really doesn't have any function once you have single control over both sides. There's no reason to divide the compartment. So you can choose to leave that out if you like. You can also notice way in the back of the box, you'll see a white stub sticking out. That is the axle from the back motor, and it will protrude into the box, and we'll use that as a pivot point for the new doors when we put them in. So we're at a point now where we have cut into the box, we have cut the center divider, both of the old doors have been removed, and the white axle on the end has been removed. And we're now ready to place the HeaterTreater hardware into the box. Now we're going to go through the process of actually installing the doors in the Grand Cherokee. We'll be following basically the same process that we went through on the bench. And this will probably be a very boring video because all you're going to see are blurry pictures of my arms, but we'll go ahead and talk our way through this and do the installation. You'll notice that we do have the hex key preset, and we'll place that in. And that will slip over the back plastic piece, and you kind of have to do that by feel. Okay, so I've got that in place, and it's now across the plastic piece on the back, and is sitting flat down against the bottom of the box. We'll now do the same thing with the driver's side door. And it again will slide right in, and you can see that it is aligning with the little hole that we'll put the rod through. And then our next step is to take the small spacer that goes in between, and we'll place that between the two. And with those two doors in place, that will actually stay in place pretty well, so we don't have to sit and hold it the whole time. And now we're ready to thread the axle through. So the first one is going to be pretty easy to get it through the hole, and then you want to kind of feel that center washer, center spacer, get it aligned. I got the center spacer. Now I'm going to move that back door a little bit and get it in line and push it through the back door. So I now have the axle threaded through the front door, the center spacer, and the back door. And I can push it all the way in until it stops. Okay, and we'll actually push the new limit pin against the plastic housing, so that axle will go all the way in. And before we tighten, we want to turn that axle all the way clockwise to where it is held tightly against the stop. That actually is a very important step, because what we are doing is making sure that when the doors are in the full down position, that limit pin is hitting its stop point against the stop that's molded in the box. This is one of the advantages of the HeaterTreater, and while it's a pain to tighten the set screws, it's really quite important, because what we're doing is making sure that the stop points that are part of the axle are aligned perfectly with the doors. When you do this with a single piece assembly, you don't have the ability to do the adjustment that we're doing right now. So you end up, unless you have absolutely perfect manufacturing, you end up with that pin being slightly out of calibration to the position of the doors. And it's virtually impossible to do that with an aluminum assembly without a very expensive dip weld type of process where you're heating the entire assembly at once and maintaining the alignment. So this is a very critical